Cool, and we're gonna wait another minute because I see folks are still joining us. But it's really nice to see all of you and welcome you today.
It's good to see you too.
Thanks. Hello from Houston. Awesome. Thanks, Lauren. Well, so actually, that's one of the first things that we do in this webinar is we ask you to post in the chat box and tell us your name and where you're calling in from and the program you're interested in. Because we love having people from all over the place on these webinars. So if you don't mind, while we're still letting people in, you can join Lauren in Houston and yeah, let us know where you're at.
Am I able to speak it or do I have to type it?
All right. So it's great. We're always going to have a good New Orleans contingent, which we're very happy about. But we're going to have folks from other places too. So Houston, Mobile, upstate New York, fabulous. Where specifically in upstate New York? That's a big place. Washington, fabulous. Good place to be today. Exciting. Wow, Ogdensburg. Okay. I lived in Manhattan and Brooklyn for 30 years. It's kind of a different universe, right? Than Ogdensburg. But really beautiful up there, among other things. Great. Well, we still have a couple people joining us. Great. Virginia and New York City. Lubbock. Nice. Well, it's always good to have a good Texas contingent. So Texas and Florida and New York, but we have California and Minnesota, and we have students in Hawaii and Alaska, all over the place. So, all right, well, that's always fun. So again, I'm Suri Deitch, and I'm the Dean of the School of Professional Advancement, and I'm here to present in this webinar with my colleague Sheila Gold, who oversees recruitment and admissions, and our colleague Ann Conlin is behind the scenes running the slides. So thank you so much for joining us today. We're really happy to meet you, and we're really glad that you're seriously considering graduate school. Right? It's a crazy time in the world. Most of us don't see one another in person. A lot of what we do is on Zoom. There is huge change underway, right, in all kinds of directions and complexity, and all of us are trying to make sense of it. And there's also, likely, unfortunately, a relatively slow recovery from an economic recession coming up. So it's a really good time to be thinking about graduate school. It's a smart idea. And even smarter, I would say, is thinking about Tulane and specifically the School of Professional Advancement. And so we're going to go through some of these items in a little more detail, but I just wanted to say up front, we're hoping that this webinar is going to convince you that the School of Professional Advancement, or SOPA, as we call it, is your new academic home, and that our reasonable tuition, so graduate students don't leave with a ton of debt. Our program's geared toward a highly diverse student body, most of whom are balancing multiple obligations, our excellent faculty, and our rigorous and demanding curriculum, and the Tulane name. We're hoping that all of that is going to come together and convince you that this is the right place to be. So, and you can see that Anne just put in the chat that if you have questions at any point, please go ahead and put them in the chat, and we will pay attention while we're going through the webinar. So just a little bit of background on the school. So Tulane is an unusual elite private research university for having a very long history of educating working adults and offering applied programs that are relevant to the workplace. So arguably going all the way back to the university's founding as the Medical College of Louisiana in 1834. But our school's predecessor or ancestor school started educating working adults in 1886. So there's a long history and a very deep commitment to supporting working adults and helping people to develop their careers at Tulane, which is not a given actually for universities like Tulane. So that's really exciting for us. When we talk about Tulane, on the next slide, we like to focus in on these 4 areas, and we'll give you a little bit of an overview of each of them and the importance. This is a general webinar for our graduate certificates and degrees. And in each of our areas of study, we have program-specific webinars where you can talk in more depth about the curriculum and about career opportunities and things like that. Here, we're just going to cover it pretty quickly and in a more superficial fashion. I will talk a little bit about student support and you know, the ways in which we provide academic and career support. Sheila's going to talk about affordability, which, like I said at the beginning, is an important thing for us, in that remaining relatively accessible, even knowing that tuition is still a challenge for many people. And then the fact that this is all backed up by one of the most recognizable universities in the world, and the fact that you know, having Tulane credentials, you know, follows you for the rest of your career and rest of your life. Okay, so we always, in the next slide, we always talk these days first about online. You know, it's not just the case that most of our graduate study is done online, but also at a time when all universities and all faculty have had to scramble to figure out how to teach online if they weren't already doing it. We're really proud of the fact that we've been doing it for a long time and really well, and that we have a thoughtful, you know, standards-based approach to online instruction that makes us stand out at a time when there's you know, a lot of mediocrity and a lot of sort of flying blind going on in online education. This is obviously a little editorializing. So our online courses are highly interactive. Like I said earlier, you know, they're geared toward diverse groups of students. They account for the fact that most of our students have jobs and or families and other kinds of obligations. But they also make full use of all the assets of online instruction in terms of high quality multimedia work, the fact that you can interact synchronously and asynchronously. So synchronous is what we're doing right now, right? We're all online at the same time. And asynchronous is you do it on your own time, and we take full advantage of both. And in the next slide, there's a little bit about how we try to quantify the fact that we do this really well. So, you know, large numbers of students, large numbers of faculty who are trained, many different degrees and certificate programs, and you know, hundreds of courses, and then you know, award-winning programs. And we're really proud we're really proud of all of that. These are just 4 of our faculty members. So our faculty is split between full-time faculty at the university, most of whom have their own backgrounds in industry. The 2 folks over on the right-hand side of the screen, Tyra Mitchell and Ralph Russo, came from industry, and but now, are fully dedicated in their work lives to supporting students, undergraduate and graduate, in their areas of study. And then backed up by a very large number of people who are currently working in industry. And so over on the left-hand side of the screen are 2 people who are doing that, Derek Bose and Ashley Hand, and, just quick references to their bios. And that has a lot of benefits for our students, that mix of full-time faculty and adjunct faculty, because you get real life challenges in the classroom to learn from, and you also get real life connections and networks. And we think both of those are really important, because even in our Master of Liberal Arts, which is our one program that isn't applied, we are supporting students to lead better lives, and we're offering an education that's relevant. So that's really important to us, to have so many folks who are currently out in their fields. On the next slide, like I said, this is a general webinar, so we don't go into detail on the individual programs, but these are all of our master's degree programs. Almost all of them are applied programs. All of them offer online coursework. Most of them are completely based online. And even with that, we have a mix of students who are in the New Orleans region and near campus. And like I said at the very beginning, folks who are literally all over the world. And then in the next slide, we show graduate certificate programs, all of which are incorporated into our master's degrees. So you actually have the option, if you decide that you want to start with a certificate program, to use the credits toward the master's degree. And so it's called stackable certificates. And it's a really important model for, in particular for adult students who want a lot of flexibility and who want options for, changing direction or adding on, or whatever the case might be. So those are the graduate certificates. And then on the next slide, we have our post-baccalaureate certificates. And these are actually made up of undergraduate coursework typically in fields where the graduate credential is not as relevant or isn't completely necessary. So these programs all require that you have a bachelor's degree, but they're actually work done at the undergraduate level. And like I said, we're happy to follow up with questions or to respond to questions that are about specific programs. But we also want to make sure that about all the different ways that you can learn about those individual programs as part of our admissions process. So on the next slide, this is also one of the things that we, hey, thanks for the thumbs up, Lauren. We always like to talk about credit for prior learning because that's one of the ways that we show that we are responsive to adults who many times have significant professional or volunteer backgrounds, who come with come to their academic experience with a lot of other kinds of experience. And so we have various kinds of partnerships with organizations where, for example, people who are in the National Guard can get credit toward a master's degree in Homeland Security Studies or emergency management, or other kinds of arrangements like that. But one that we always make sure to talk about is what's called portfolio credit, where our faculty work with you to match your professional experience or your prior training up with specific coursework in our curriculum, and then help you to document it. And then once you've created the portfolio actually gets graded by faculty. And you can get up to 6 credits, which is 2 courses toward a master's degree through portfolio assessment. On the next slide, just a little bit about the area that we call student support and success. So each of our graduate students, both certificate and degree students, is assigned a dedicated academic advisor who works in a particular field of study. The academic advisors are highly experienced and responsive. They are there to work with you when non-academic challenges come up that have the possibility of throwing you off track. I'll tell you, I have a student who in the middle of the fall suddenly got a new job, had to relocate to Austin, Texas, was in training 14 hours a day pretty much for weeks. And we worked really hard to keep her in her master's degree program and for her not to lose any time because she had that important interruption, right? She wasn't going to turn down a job opportunity, but she wanted to keep making progress toward her master's degree. So we're highly responsive and work really hard to keep you on track and to create the circumstances where you can work really hard in your academic program. So that's advisement. We also, like I said, have faculty who connect students with their own professional network. So that's a great bonus to have as part of a graduate program. It's not a given by any means. And then we have a dedicated career advisor. So you will have access to seminars and workshops and interactions with panels of employers, but you will also have the opportunity to get one-on-one advice to work on your resume or polish up your LinkedIn profile. And then, of course, you have all the benefits of being part of the Tulane alumni community and all the career components and other components that come along with that. So with that, I will hand things off to Sheila to talk, and I'll take a look at the chat.
Thanks, Suri. So I'm going to talk you through the next couple of slides, and if we could go to the next slide, and share a little bit about our affordability, our application process, and some important deadlines for admission. I always like to let students know that we share this information with you during the webinar, but if at any point during the application process you have additional questions, please reach out. As part of sort of the culture of our school, we enjoy creating relationships with our students. That's part of the benefit of being part of the SOPA community and a school the size of SOPA. And those relationships begin now during the admissions process. So we get to know you, you get to know us, but it's also the fun part of doing this work is getting to know everyone. So feel free to reach out and you can put questions in the chat or you can send an email afterwards. Suri briefly mentioned affordability is really important to us. We know that education is an investment. And so that's serious. For most of you all, you have other responsibilities in your life, job responsibilities, home responsibilities, childcare, or other family member responsibilities. So we know that you're balancing a lot. And so we've been very intentional about our price points. Our tuition rate per credit hour is a little over $1,000. It's $1,078 per credit hour. That is virtually what you are going to pay per semester. And I like to share that with students because we don't have a lot of additional fees on top of our credit hours. So each course is 3 credit hours. You might take 1, 2, 3 courses during the course of a semester. It's somewhat easy to tabulate what your tuition rate will be. We like to, our faculty are also somewhat intentional in making sure that they keep in mind how much books are going to cost. They try to provide reading materials so that you won't have to buy additional materials if they're not necessary. I like to point that out to students, A, because we're proud of it, and B, because I know that students are savvy consumers. So when comparing us to other schools, definitely include fees in your comparison, because there are certainly some other schools within our demographic area that almost double their tuition rate once you add on fees, and that is not the case at SOPA. For our students, most of our students look for some sort of financial assistance through the financial aid office, through loans. I always encourage students when starting their application for admission to also at the same time start their financial aid application. The financial aid application can take weeks to go through that process, so it's better to start it on the early side as opposed to the late side. If you have questions, you can reach out directly to our financial aid office. But if you need to ask us questions, please do. We have some folks in-house that can help you. And if at the point where we feel like there are more specific financial aid questions, we can refer you to the appropriate people at our financial aid office. Some of the types of aid available are federal grants and loans. We are very proudly a member of the Yellow Ribbon program for those of you who are military. And we do offer 20% tuition discounts for active military and veterans, and then retired public safety personnel. Surrey mentioned in the slide before this one, our credit for prior learning and life experience. We also talk about that on this slide because it is somewhat of a savings. It's a savings of time and of money. You can get up to 6 credits, which is the equivalent of 2 classes that you won't have to spend the time in the classroom, nor will you have to pay for those credits. So that is essentially a slightly over $6,000 tuition savings. So please look into that option as well. Our application process is intentionally very transparent. But with that said, there are always questions to the process, so do not be shy about reaching out. You can apply on our website. It's an electronic application process at the bottom of this slide. The website address is sopa.tulane.edu/apply. If you go to our website, there'll be a big apply button at the top. Just click that. It takes you to the application portal. You'll need to put in your first name, last name, and email address, and it opens up our application. You will need to fill out some demographic information. There may be an essay or a written statement associated with the program that you're applying to. We do have a $50 application fee for our graduate programs. However, as a thank you for taking time out of your busy day, and right now it's right in the middle of the day, for spending some time with us, we will waive that fee. If you all have already applied, please email me. I can refund that fee for you. We also will need you to upload a current government ID. That is generally, for most applicants, just take your phone, take a picture of your current driver's license, and upload that image. And then we will need you to send transcripts from any undergraduate institution from which you receive credits. So you can send those to us by U.S. Postal Service or electronically. We encourage electronic submissions. They're faster. The Postal Service is taking a little bit of time these days. Some important deadlines are our spring semester just started this week. So for those of you who are looking to apply for summer, you have until May 15th to get your application in. And those of you who are planning for the traditional fall start, you have until August 1st. Our application process is rolling. So that means as soon as your application to us is complete, we will review it and offer your admissions decision. I do encourage students to go ahead and get your application in as quickly as possible. If you're interested in applying and you know that you want to apply, go ahead and get it in. It gives you time to get through the financial aid process. Maybe if we have to spend some time tracking down some transcripts, it gives us some time to do that. But also as an incentive to go ahead and get your application completed and get you admitted, we have some early enrollment scholarships. If you enroll that that means register for classes, apply, get admitted, and actually register for classes for the summer term by May 1st, then you will receive a $500 scholarship. For the fall, if you apply, get accepted, and register for fall classes by June 1, then you too will receive a $500 scholarship. That scholarship is in the form of a discount, a $500 discount on your first semester's tuition bill. So hopefully that is exciting for you all who know that you're going to go ahead and already apply. Just get it in and take advantage of the scholarship. So those that my contact information is on this screen. Please copy it down. I'm Sheila Gold, sgold@tulane.edu. Send me email questions if you think of them after the presentation. But for those of you who have questions right now, feel free to put them in the chat and we'll be monitoring that for the next few minutes.
I'll also say, just to add on, I've gotten a few questions in recent days about the GRE, which many graduate schools require, and also about recommendations, which many graduate schools require for admission. And we don't require either. We don't think either recommendations from people who knew you whenever or a test score on a standardized test really are good indicators of your preparedness for graduate level work in our school. So we really rely on your prior academic record, your responses to questions in our applications, because like Sheila said, each of our graduate applications has specific essays attached to it. And then many times we do interviews. And when I say we, I really mean the faculty who are doing the admissions work, the faculty and advisors who are making admissions decisions for the individual programs. And we will provide the recording. So the next step is, so Sheila said, go ahead and write her contact information down, and you can certainly do that. You're also going to get an email within the next day that comes from Sheila and gives you a link to the recording of this webinar in case you want to watch it again or watch it from the beginning if you came in a little late. And, you know, like Sheila said, this is a really important part of our starting to make a connection with you, that we start to meet people during the admissions process. And so you should feel free to reach out at any point. I do see a question from Lauren about the GRE. So just to reiterate that, we don't require the GRE as part of our admissions process. And then I see a question from Karen about the VA scholarship initiative. Let us follow up with you. And we 18% of our graduate students are veterans or active duty. So we have many students using GI Bill benefits, using the Yellow Ribbon program. And this is not one that I'm familiar with. So we'll follow up. My guess is we are participating in it. I don't know why we wouldn't be, but I just want to make sure. Oh, VA nurses. Okay. Yes. So the answer is, yeah, but we'll follow up with you. We will be opening up our admissions portal for spring 2022 applications in a few weeks. But we'll make a note if you say now that you're interested in spring 2022, we'll make a note on your record and just so that we know to let you know when the application does open. Any other questions that people have right now? All right, well, we're really excited to see you. Hopefully we communicated that. It's nice to have a group of people. It's exciting for us to see people from so many different backgrounds and places and with such diverse interests. And we are really looking forward to seeing your applications for admission. So thanks again for taking the time to be on the webinar, and have a good rest of your day. And we look forward to being in touch. And Usha, we're going to follow up with you about the TOEFL test. All right. Thanks so much. Have a great day, everyone.